Hello and welcome to the 2024 Annual Conference and Book Fair in Kansas City, Missouri. I am Jenny Young-Kropp, a member of the AAWP Board of Directors. Here is a visual description of myself. I am a middle-aged biracial Korean American woman with long brown hair, wearing glasses and a pink sweater. The Association of Writers and Writing Programs is a small but mighty nonprofit organization that amplifies the voices of writers and the academic programs and organizations that serve them, all while championing diversity and excellence in creative writing. I'm a member of AWP's Board of Directors, but first and foremost, I am a member of AWP. Membership with AWP provides me with writing resources year-round, but just as importantly, it allows me to support other writers, especially those who are just starting out. My membership dues help writers find meaningful careers and publication opportunities and make services like the Writer-to-Writer Mentorship Program and the AWP HBCU Fellowship Program possible. If you aren't already, I invite you to become a member today. We are delighted to bring you this event today. I'd like to acknowledge and thank all of our conference sponsors and the literary partners hosting this event, Blue Flower Arts and the Asian American Writers Workshop. Our literary partners and sponsors allow AWP to present these extraordinary literary events and help us keep our conference affordable and accessible. So please join me in thanking all of our conference sponsors and partners for their support and participation. Before we start, I do have to do brief housekeeping, so please silence your cell phones. Remember that there's no flash photography allowed during the presentation. Please respect seats marked as reserved for attendees with accessibility needs, and please give authors about 10 minutes after the presentation to get to the book signing table before approaching them to have your book signed. Lastly, we ask that you please be aware of your fellow attendees who may have disabilities and help AWP to be more accessible. Specifically, if you see a barrier to accessibility, let us know by calling or texting our accessibility hotline at 240-269-6635. Please also be aware of those with invisible disabilities and do not question someone's use of an accommodation. Thank you, and now it's my great pleasure and honor to welcome Anya Backlund, who will introduce this fantastic event.
Hello. I know at any given time at AWP there are about 50 other things you could be doing, so it means a lot that you all are here today. Thank you. I also want to start today's event by acknowledging the current state of the world we are living in. From the active genocide taking place in Palestine to atrocities happening in the Congo and Sudan, and even closer to home, the legislation in Missouri that endangers trans and queer communities. It is not just necessary, but morally imperative to underscore that none of us are free until all of us are free, and that all anti-racist and liberationist struggles are intertwined. My name is Anya, and I run a literary speakers agency called Blue Flower Arts. We represent poets and writers, including those on this stage, for all kinds of engagements around the world. I want to give a special thank you to my BFA team, especially Anna, Miyako, and Kale, who are here today. I'm so lucky to work with you guys. I also want to shout out the AWP staff, especially Colleen Cable. To pull off something of this scale year after year is absolute wizardry, and I'm always so impressed. And as we settle in and get ready to hear from this magnificent group of award-winning poets, Chen Chen, Tina Chang, Kimiko Hahn, and Marilyn Chin, I want to give a special thank you to Tina. This event is a seed she has nurtured for a long time, honestly, years. Thank you, Tina, for sharing your vision with me, and for trusting Blue Flower Arts with it. The stories that I hear after poetry readings and workshops and community reads have made it so clear. These encounters change lives. Poets help us strengthen our empathy muscles, open us to wonder, invite us to question the status quo, and deepen our connection to the world around us. And that doesn't even scratch the surface. Poetry is a powerful tool of humanity. I was reading an interview with the one and only Jericho Brown, who is a fellow Blue Flower poet, in The Pitch, which is an independent Kansas City outlet. And he said, "I feel like poets are the people from whom I've learned the most on earth. And I feel like there's a way that you can learn from their poems, yes, but there's something you can learn from being around them that teaches you how to be a writer. And not how to be a writer as in their writing, but how to live life as a writer. How to claim your time, how to make sure you're getting things done while you're also raising your kids, or loving your spouse, or teaching at a university." I love that. Because when we create opportunities to bring writers together in real time, in physical space and virtual space, we can unlock so much more potential. It's exponential. We learn how to live our lives, to articulate our values and live them. That's why gatherings like AWP and organizations like our partner in this event, the Asian American Writers Workshop, are so important. My wish for everyone at AWP this year is to find community. And if you can't find it, build it. We need each other. So, today's event is a celebration of Asian American literature and advocacy. We are celebrating poetry, resilience, history, family, power, community, and generations. We are so lucky to have 4 legendary poets read for us today. And I also want to acknowledge the many voices that are not represented on this stage. The Asian American community is vast and diverse and beautiful, and we welcome you all here. With that, I want to give a warm welcome to the Executive Director of the Asian American Writers Workshop, Jafreen Uddin, who will introduce our event. Thank you.
Right. Hi, everybody. My name is Jafreen. I'm the Executive Director of the Asian American Writers Workshop. The Asian American Writers Workshop is dedicated to publishing and amplifying Asian American literary culture. Since our founding in 1991, we've worked to cultivate a radically inclusive community of Asian and Asian diasporic writers and readers to mobilize for a more just future. We're so thrilled to partner today with our friends at Blue Flower Arts to showcase the breadth and impact of Asian American writing and poetry. It's writing that explores a spectrum of themes, including tradition, culture, belonging, race, and queer identity. This reading pays homage to the ways each generation can radically imagine and transcend through creative expression and future-facing experimentation. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started for what we're really here for. We're gonna hear readings from each of our poets. I'll introduce people right before they read. We're gonna end with a brief conversation, and then as we mentioned, there will be a signing with a few of our poets right outside, and if you could just give them some time to get there. So let's kick things off. I'm thrilled to start us off with Chen Chen. Chen is the author of 2 books of poetry, Your Emergency Contact Has Experienced an Emergency, and When I Grow Up, I Want to Be a List of Further Possibilities, which was longlisted for the National Book Award and won the Tom Gunn Award, among other honors. His work appears in many publications, including poetry and 3 editions of the Best American Poetry. He's received 2 Pushcart Prizes and fellowships from Kundiman, the National Endowment for the Arts, and United States Artists. He currently teaches for the low residency MFA programs at New England College and Stone Coast. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Chen Chen.
Hello. I'm so delighted to be sharing this stage today with poets whose work I've admired for so long, Tina Chang, Kimiko Hahn, and Marilyn Chin. Many thanks to Blue Flower Arts and Asian American Writers Workshop for gathering and hosting us. Special thanks to Jafreen Uddin for introducing us and moderating the conversation. I'm going to start with 2 new poems, then read a few poems from my books. This first poem is about condiments and being really sad. God, gods, powers, Lord, universe. If you cannot, at the moment, give me much joy, I get it. I've asked and received many a great joy already. Just give me, if you can spare it, a small joy, say, the size of a ketchup packet. If that's too much to ask for, then how about a small kindness, a tiny kindness, the size of a kiss from a dust mote? No? Okay. Would it be possible for you to take away some things then? For instance, the soreness on the right side of my neck. If you could remove maybe half a pinch of that soreness, I would leap up as though it were a great joy. I mean, it would absolutely be a great, great joy. Thank you in advance, O highest, O mightiest, O most. Still no? Well, what about this sense that everything has become very slippery? Everything is slipping right out of my fingers and faster every day. I'm not asking you to cure my fear, nor unslipify my fingers. Only if you could, if you have a quarter of a split nanosecond, it would be greatly appreciated, see. I don't need joy or kindness or ketchup. I beg you, if you are a being, a higher, some mysteries that can listen, can mercy, I just need to lose a little less quickly. Thank you. This next poem I wrote in LA back in December, so it's pretty new, after a conversation with the wonderful fiction writer Genevieve Hudson. We were reflecting on friendship breakups and how those can be even more wrenching than breakups with romantic partners. I went through 3 friendship breakups during the pandemic, and this is a composite of those experiences. Brooklyn is for breakups. I fell down a wish, and your goof skedaddled, and I wish it mattered. I fell so backwards, right into my own heart, like a great diver, blessed by a different gravity, and I wish it mattered a single second. A single sorrow can keep falling. Did you know that? It can fall through stone, steel, your spine, any matter, forever. Just a small, small earthling sad. You could thread a sigh through the eye of it, but why would you? Not a boyfriend, lover, not even 6 months knowing each other. What was there to know but my spine? Do you remember the bagels, my red jacket, your own unkempt mustache, that morning of our eventual, let's forget about this? You remember, but do you think about it? Do I miss you, or do I miss not thinking about those days? Seed after seed fell from my very much everything bagel, and I thought I'd never run out of things to wish on. The dreams got stuck between my teeth. Didn't you see them? Why didn't we talk about that? I can't remember another morning so early. So early it sounded like night, like me calling for you across the avenue, calling you my friend. Thanks. This next poem is from my first book, and I'm really thankful to Marilyn Chin's feedback on this one during a workshop at the Kundiman Retreat in 2014. Thank you, Marilyn. Summer was forever. Time dripped from the faucet like magician's botched trick. I did not want to applaud it. I stood to one side and thought, what it's time for is a garden or a croissant factory. What kind of work do I need to be doing? My parents said, doctor, married to lawyer. The faucet said, drip, drop, your life sucks. But sometimes no one said anything, and I saw him, the local paper boy on his route. his beanstalk frame and fragile bicycle. And I knew we would be so terribly happy. Our work would be simple. Our kissing would rhyme with cardiac arrest. Birds would overthrow the cathedral towers. I would have a magician's hair, full of sleeves and saws, unashamed to tell the whole town our first date was in a leaky faucet factory. How we fell in love during jumps on his tragic uncle's trampoline. We fell in love in midair. And these next two poems are from my second book, Your Emergency Contact Has Experienced an Emergency. Winter. Big, smelly bowel movements this blue January morning. From the living room TV, a commercial from our TV company. We're the fastest, the only, meaning love us above all others. What makes poop more pungent on certain days? A question for science. From the living room TV, the powerful cite law, bark order, meaning love us or else. Years ago, a teacher said never to use the word poop in a poem. Today, the icy kiss of the toilet seat wakes me up. Today, I poop while my boyfriend shouts from the living room, "Did you hear that?" Meaning the atomic scientists who say, we are now 2.5 minutes to midnight. But still, I marvel whenever poop comes out as one true platonic tube. I am trying to be marvelous and to make my enemies throw up. I mean, if you shower with soap and eat well, maintaining consistent gastrointestinal health, you should be ready for a rim job or other forms of anal play. My boyfriend and I are not platonic. From the TV, a white supremacist cites science, barks two sides to every. I mean, up the throat, out the mouth, the fastest, the only way the powerful will let go of their shit. I mean, my boyfriend and I are not into scat, but if you are, I hope your beloved produces the most fragrant, citrusy shit. I mean, is shit as scat more or less literary than poop? I mean, one winter night I got sick and pooped the bed, and he just got up with me, helped strip the sheets, carry it all to the washer. I kept saying, I'm so sorry, shivering, I'm sorry. But he said, what? Hey, I love you. Thanks. So that one I remember reading at this tiny bookstore event. I think there were maybe 5 people there, including the staff in Los Angeles years ago. And afterward, this older woman came up to me. She looked me in the eye, put her hand on my shoulder, and just said, "You are so brave." And I know she was talking about that poem. I invite my parents to a dinner party. In the invitation, I tell them for the 17th time, the 4th in writing, that I am gay. In the invitation, I include a picture of my boyfriend and write, "You've met him 2 times. But this time, you will ask him things other than, can you pass the whatever? You will ask him about him. You will enjoy dinner. You will be enjoyable. Please RSVP." They RSVP. They come. They sit at the table and ask my boyfriend the first of the conversation starters I slip them upon arrival. How is work going? I'm like the kid in Home Alone, orchestrating every movement of a proper family, as if a pair of scary yet deeply incompetent burglars is watching from the outside. My boyfriend responds in his chipper way. I pass my father a bowl of fishball soup. So comforting, isn't it? My mother smiles her best, sitting with her son's boyfriend, who is a boy, smile. I smile my hooray for doing a little better, smile. Everyone eats soup. Then my mother turns to me, whispers in Mandarin, "Is he coming with you for Thanksgiving? My good friend is, and she wouldn't like this." I'm like the kid in Home Alone, pulling on the string that makes my cardboard mother more motherly, except she is not cardboard. She is already, exceedingly, my mother, waiting for my answer. While my father opens up a Boston Globe, when the invitation clearly stated, no security blankets. I'm like the kid in Home Alone, except the home is my apartment, and I'm much older, and not alone, and not the one who needs to learn, has to. "Remind me what's in that recipe again?" my boyfriend says to my mother, as though they have always easily talked. as though no one has told him many times what a non-linear slapstick meets slasher flick meets psychological pit there he is now co-starring in. Remind me, he says, to our family. And I'll close with this little poem from my most recent chapbook, Explodingly Yours. I dedicate this poem to the Lunar New Year, which is officially tomorrow. Happy Year of the Dragon. I love you to the moon and not back. Let's not come back. Let's go by the speed of queer zest and stay up there and get ourselves a little moon cottage, so pretty. Then start a moon garden with lots of moon veggies, so healthy. I mean, I was already moonlighting as an online moonologist most weekends. So this is the immensely logical next step. Are you packing your bags yet? Don't forget your Sailor Moon jean jacket. Let's wear our Sailor Moon jean jackets while twirling in that lighter, queerer moon gravity. Let's love each other so good on the moon. Let's love the moon on the moon. Thank you.
Thank you, Chen. Next up, we have Tina Chang. Tina served as Brooklyn Poet Laureate for over a decade. She's the author of Half-Lit Houses, of Gods and Strangers, and most recently, Hybrida, which was named a most anticipated book of 2019 by NPR, LitHub, The Millions, Oprah Magazine, Publishers Weekly, and was named a New York Times Book Review New and Noteworthy, in the New York Times Book Review New and Noteworthy collection. She is also the co-editor of the W.W. Norton anthology, Language for a New Century, Contemporary Poetry from the Middle East, Asia, and Beyond. She is the director of creative writing at Binghamton University. Tina.
Thank you so much. Hi, can you hear me? Hi, Happy New Year, everyone. First, I'd like to thank Blue Flower Arts, the Asian American Writers Workshop. I got my start at the workshop in the 1990s in their basement space below the Gap store on St. Mark's Place in New York City. At its start, it was a grassroots organization filled with theater, insanely good vibes, insistence on friendship, and welcomed each of its members' curiosity, no matter how outlandish, inappropriate, or wild. I feel honored to take part in today's event, situated between the generation of writers of Kimiko Hahn and Marilyn Chin, whose power made me believe that finding a place as an Asian American writer was possible, and Chen Chen, whose work of wit and spark and tenderness is inspiring a new generation of writers. I'm going to read an excerpt from a work called Motivated, which appeared in the workshop's journal called The Margins, and it was an issue dedicated to the Japanese form of the Zuhitsu, and it was guided by Kimiko Hahn. The Zuhitsu is a generous vessel that can contain lists, text, letters, emails, journals, prose essays, poems, and dreams. Two women in a field among unnamed trees, and only one would leave the field alive. They search upward, leaves lift to meet them. The elder, flying snow, warns Moon that she would meet her end, but Moon, foolish, surges ahead as flying snow's sword enters Moon's side. One drop of blood slides from the edge of her blade and falls, touching ground, and a rush of yellow leaves turns red. I've repeated this scene many times from the film Hero since I viewed it, imagining death could be this slow, lyrical. I understand now that I know nothing at all about death, though I'm learning each day what it may mean to live. Journal entry, January 16, 2022. Michelle Alyssa Go's murderer was named Marshall Simon, 61 years old, who had a history of mental illness. The murder was not categorized as a hate crime. Quote, experts previously told NBC Asian America that the term hate crime should be used only when a suspect is charged, as it has dangerous implications, particularly for communities of color when applied to cases that do not involve racial animus, end quote. There was a candlelight vigil. There was a makeshift memorial made of Post-it notes. I sit at my computer watching the vigil from afar. The lights on the hillside here gleam, and each day the sky shows me its complicated face. On Hello Sami's Insta account, I see a photo. There are 420 likes. Asian American women pushed into subway tracks. Authorities say it was not racially motivated. Georgia massage parlor shootings leave 8 dead. Authorities say it was not racially motivated. I look up the meaning of authority. Number 1, the confident quality of someone who knows a lot about something or who is respected or obeyed by other people. Number 2, a quality that makes something real or true. I failed my road test. It's car reliant here in upstate New York. The snow drifts in, landing and dropping 10 to 12 inches of snow. By morning, the hills are covered in a veil of white, which is both paradise and drudgery. This is actually the results of my real road test. The result is fail. Scored items are items that were performed incorrectly or improperly. For each item, an applicant receives points. If an applicant receives more than 30 points, they have failed the road test. So this is my actual score. Fails to adequately observe to use caution, 10 points. Unable to park properly, 15 points. Fails to anticipate potential hazards, 10 points. Changing lanes, fails to do so, 10 points. Poor judgment approaching or at intersections, 10 points. Poor judgment and turning, stopping, observing, signaling, vehicle control, poor steering control, 15 points. I think for anyone who can do math, it's over 65 points, so I failed. When I lived in Brooklyn as a young woman, I was sometimes followed home by men. They cornered me as I fumbled for keys to my apartment building where I'd lived alone. Often, my race was a prime subject of their attraction. I stayed quiet, plodding away to enter my building without the threat of someone rushing in behind me. One man believed he knew me intimately as he touched my face before he took leave. I move inward to safer rooms. The single essential survival skill for anybody interested in creating art is to learn to defend the inner life from the world, and that's by Lan Samantha Chang. A flock of geese float by in a perfect V. The inner life takes on a vibrant hue, and I feel a calming sensation as if I swallowed a radiant pill. I dissolve in a blaze. The legend of the phoenix. The phoenix was known to be a majestic bird-like creature that lived in paradise. However, in time, the bird began to feel the effects of his age. After 1,000 years, the phoenix flew west into the mortal world. It was necessary to come to leave paradise so that the creature could be reborn. When the phoenix reached the end of its extraordinary lifespan, it was said that it burst into flames. For anyone newly arrived to Times Square, there is a sensory overload with the scent of street hot dogs in the air, actors dressed as Disney life-size characters. I imagine Michelle Go moving through this, having commuted countless times before. On the day that she was killed, perhaps there was a dash to get the R train, a thrust from behind, a sudden jolt of limbs into dark space, an intake of breath, and an inability to break the body from its fall. And these are the R train stops in New York City. I keep each woman's life inside my notebook, though the details of their true lives are unknowable to me, which feels like a heavy thud in the soles of my feet. As I walk down a deserted road, I write a poem and touch mortality with the tip of my pen, touching a frozen lake. Motivated. If I take off this mask, I breathe a solace so deep. I destroy the trees. I set fire to the woods. I walk alone amidst the smolder but free. Sometimes I come back to life. My lungs fill with a knowledge of the century, which is a kind of funeral, fatal song as its ending. All year long, I waited for the final breath that never came. We kept ourselves busy. We played games, took turns, baked bread, then broke the loaf in half to see nothing inside but air. We were thankful for the world within us that pulled us back with a dazzling grief, a prayer inside me that was a wish to end my mourning by never dying. I struggle to live. I carry time like earrings that fall in chandeliers around me. I struggle to hear myself knocking on the other side of the door. The year in its infancy crawls to me to ask me to hold it without crushing it, to cradle its face, which marks me with a trace resemblance. I heard someone call my name and ask, how much of this earth can hold you long enough before you ignite? How much paradise can you bear? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tina. Next up is Kimiko Hahn. Kimiko is the author of 10 books of poetry and casts a wide net for subject matter. Her last collection, Foreign Bodies, revisits the personal as political, the immigrant body, the endangered animal's body, objects removed from children's bodies, and hoarded things. Previous books, Toxic Flora and Brain Fever, were prompted by fields of science. The narrow road to the interior takes title and forms from Basho's famous journals. Kimiko is Distinguished Professor at CUNY Queens College, and her honors include the 2023 Ruth Lilly Award, a Guggenheim Fellowship, a Penn Volcker Award, the Shelley Memorial Prize, and NEA Fellowships. She is also, if that wasn't enough, the current Chancellor of the Academy of American Poetry. Everyone, please give a warm round of applause for Kimiko Hahn.
Thank you, Jafreen. Thank you, Anya and Miyako. Thank you, fellow poets who are also dear friends. Marilyn, this would not have happened when we were young. This reading would not have happened. This is a long time coming. So thank you, Blue Flower and Asian American Writers Workshop. I'm going to read one long poem and one short poem. I couldn't know at the time of drafting and revising. I just turned off my iPad. It's the danger of using this. I couldn't know at the time of drafting and revising that I'd been trying to write this poem, The Ashes, for decades. Its short sections are somewhat modeled after the Japanese form tanka. The ashes. The puppy snarfles to be let out, and I wake to radiator gurgling, then feet crunching, the reticent snow. Before I was born, Mother sewed her own suits. What do her ashes know? Father shoved snow off the supine roof. Mother crafted Christmas ornaments, glue, glitter, and red balls. No tinsel, no angels. Her death started in the living room. For bonsai, pliers the size of a nail clipper, spools of wire, and a fist-sized rock. One bore a petite pomegranate, never to eat, not to touch. Her death began with a baseball bat. In the vineyard, he secured the strongest cane, from training stake to fruiting wire, pruning with handsaw and lopper. He'd leave a spur for the next season. He shoved her away with direct objects. In a cold snap, if one pipe freezes, the rest may freeze as well. Even before the puppy stirs, even before a baby sister arrived in mother's arms in the misleading car. After the war, after she met father, she smoked menthols but didn't cha-cha anymore. She'd light up and blow smoke out the apoplectic window. He found the ashes on the sill. Fireflies winked for mates or prey outside the savvy window of my own first home, where I sewed a dress too smart to wear. On the stereo, a blues man cried, "I need my ashes hauled." I tucked away our baby's pink layette in circumspect mothballs for a christening that never took place, as well a doll that Auntie crocheted. More than anything, I love tidal pools. I know her ashes are at father's, lost in his charnel of junk mail. He claims that thieves have stolen the box, his knob cutter and root hook. He says the ashes aren't remains anyways. Winter stripped everything to limb and dejected nest. No angels, no creche. I don't know whose recollections are suspect. After leaving Maui, Mother learned to swim. She loved tidal pools more than anything. In my kitchen, logs blink in the fire. Through blinds, the wind blusters and browbeaten trees creak in the orchard. The rain pours, then stops for sun. If he lost Mother's ashes, what more could I stand? Omusubi tastes best on black beaches. Because Mother never learned to swim, she watched her 5 brothers from a blanket. On the intransient subway, I can't recall if I've passed my station. Metal smells of being fertile again. His mother said her social station. Mother showed our little girl how to sift flour and how to crank an egg beater. After father lost her, he barred us from his rooms and yard, where at night long red worms slithered up from the ground. Mother's ashes know. Before the puppy snarfles, father shoves snow off the supine roof. For bonsai, use pliers the size of a nail clipper. In the vineyard, the strongest canes. In a cold snap, a hair dryer on frozen pipes. Fireflies winked for mates or prey outside, while I tucked away my baby's pink layette. Mother's ashes know their box is in the living room, where she didn't cha-cha anymore. Where has winter stripped everything to nest? In my kitchen, the logs blink in the fire, and I know omusubi tastes best on a back shore. I know, too, she doggedly showed granddaughters how to graft flowers. Here's a short poem and it is in the form of a golden shovel, which is, you probably know, invented by the most wonderful poet, Terence Hayes. And in this case, I use a haiku translated by Hiroaki Sato as the end words. So I'll read the haiku first. This is by Tada Chimako. Inside my body, death is a soft, wintry wart. And here is my poem. Inside my body. Though unseeable, we assume the inside. Tissue, blood, and bone appear in my mind. The piss and shit before the body evacuates. But also lodged is one's death, in some form, unless expiring is unforeseen, like my mother's, a crashing metal against metal, her soft self crushed on that wintry parkway. Did the paramedic notice her wart? Thank you.
Thank you, Kimiko. And last but definitely not least, we have Marilyn Chin. Marilyn was born in Hong Kong. She's the author of 6 poetry collections and a novel. She's the winner of the 2020 Ruth Lilly Prize in Poetry, the Anisfield Wolf Book Award, the Penn Oakland Josephine Miles Literary Award, and a Radcliffe Institute Fellow, among other honors. She is a previous chancellor of the Academy of American Poets and lives in San Diego. Please give a warm round of applause for Marilyn Chin.
Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year. I'm wearing red. It's a year of the dragon. Woo! Okay. Thank you, Blue Flower Arts. Thank you, Asian American Writers Workshop, and all my comrades over here. Yay! All right. I'm going to read from my new book called Sage. There it is. And, okay, I'm going to begin with a poem called, this is the first poem of the book. It's called Looking for the Sage, and it satirizes those Tang Dynasty poems that, are about looking for that male sage sitting in the woods, contemplating nature. But this is a feminist version. Looking for the sage. Some say she moved in with her ex-girlfriend in Taiwan. Some say she went to Florida to wrestle alligators. Some say she went to Peach Blossom Spring to drink tea with Tao Chen. Miho says she's living in Calexico with 3 cats and a gerbil named Max. Miyako says she's just a shadow of the great Some say she's just a shadow of the great society, a parody of what might have been. Miyako saw her stark raving mad between 23rd and the Avenue of the Americas, wrapped in a flag. I swear I saw her floating in a motel pool, topless, on a plastic manatee, palms up. What in hell was she thinking? What is poetry? What are stars? Whence comes the end of suffering? I messed up a couple of lines, okay. This poem is called You Go, Me Stay, 2 Autumns. And the refrain is from a famous haiku by Masaoka Shiki. And his dates are 1867 to 1902. He wrote 20,000 haiku. This poem needs audience participation. So please chant with me for the refrain, You Go, Me Stay, 2 Autumns, when I point at you, okay? And I was also playing with hip-hop polysyllabic rhymes and Chinese parallel couplets, and of course, yeah, it's a cross-fertilization of sorts, right? So, You go, me stay, 2 autumns. Wipe your lipstick off the milk carton. Get off your high horse and wicked palanquin. Dye your ancestral roots kryptonite day glow. Paint your opposable thumbs, urban decay bonobo. Photobomb a grief group, confess you're happy. Hang upside down off a moonbeam, screech like a banshee. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. Are you helping me out there? All right, okay. Donne and Keats scratching tunes in the kitty litter, purring poetry and God through a negative iron capacitor. Air hug your biker neighbor, not too tight, she might bite. Rock roses and jasmine bathe in chain link light. Queen bees a hiving beyond meat on the Barbie. Squid ink gnocchi 6 feet away still looks nasty. You've been knocking down mojitos, face-licking boy chicks at the grotto. Aunties decoupling, sending you back to Idaho. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. Catch a midge in midair, kiss her skinny lips, let go. A raven attacks my wig, he's Edgar Allan Poe. Twittering in twilight, raptors killing doves, some singing about inequality, some crooning love. Don't fall for the pool boy, ain't got a pool. Don't fall for the girl boy, can't do ambiguity. But please wear an N95 face mask if you want to see me. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. June says you're too quiet, Mei-Ling. Go shout at a rainbow. Adrienne says, come visit Michelle and me for utopian fish gumbo. Why do I speak to the dead? 'Cause the living are a-holes. Sorry about that. Fat man, little boy, someone will hit bottom. Why worry about nuclear winter? Our species will be forgotten. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. The princess on the left says you rhyme with rich. The princess on the right says your poetry is shit. Over 1 million dead, better stay home, you might be next. I'm not funnier than Stevie Smith waving her undies, not funnier than Margaret Cho, I'm not that bold. Funnier than Aristophanes? The frogs croak, no. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. Is that a 19th century Mauser, or are you happy to see me? Don't brag about your viral load. You're a peon amongst peonies. Hating black people, the one is your brother. Hating white people, the one is your mother. Killing racism like killing lice. Bomb it, raid it, will return Minnesota nice. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. Visited Granny Wong in her raised metal bed, helped her to root erase aubergine drag. She told this story. Sorry, my translation is bad. One day, while shopping at Walmart, a hoodlum grabbed my brocade purse and called me a stupid old chink. I chased him down the parking lot, hooked his ankle with my phoenix claw cane, dragged him home in my flying wheelchair, reciting the Dharma of 6 thieves, steam some butterfly shrimp dumplings in celestial garlic persimmon cream. He gorged 3 bowls and licked the spoon, then napped in my lazy boy like a prince. I said, "I'll call your mother to fetch you." He said, "But my mother is dead." Praise the mysterious female, mysterious female. Praise the mysterious female, mysterious female. I met a masked vaquera at the border fair. We line danced to Cupid Shuffle, an achy breaky heart. She loves Selena, Shakira, and cumbia bands. Don't remember much now, but the pony can dance. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. You go, me stay, 2 autumns. Oh, yeah. Thank you for your participation. This one is called If, and it's got one really bad pun in the end. Okay. If, not by Rudyard Kipling. If you wear a red dragon on your dress, they'll call you Oriental. If you wear pink jammies in the rain, they'll call you a big baby and still call you Oriental. If you dance naked, eating plums, 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 with a side of white meat chicken, they'll call you Oriental by way of Williams. If you wear a dragon dress size 18, they'll call you an elephant. If you wear a dead fox on your head, they'll elect you president. Speak in growls and tweets and threats. You are proud to buy American. He'll sell you a piece of Plymouth Rock and 72 virgins in heaven. Yeah, you are stupid, but you are our stupid. If you are pure of blood, you must not be an American. Professor Gates will shake your ancestral tree and prove that you are half pangolin. I'd rather be one than eat one. I'd rather eat one than be one. If a conditional marries a conjunctional, you will be a pink-eyed proposition. From the perspective of a gull, we are a raft of tasty excrement. Oh, gray and lonely April day, T.S. Elephant, T.S. Elephant. All right, okay, that's a nerdy poet joke, okay. I don't know. Well, sometimes we just have to, write some bad puns. Okay, they're just okay. Fruit. I'm gonna end with fruit etudes, and I love to write little, compressed little jewels. Sometimes they're bombs, little, and sometimes they're jewels. So these are called fruit etudes. Melon. Melon is hard on the outside, tender on the inside. She has a magnificent personality. So they bred her with an invasive species. Now she is seedless and childless, has become uncouth and jokey. She will die on the vine. Cherry. Her grandmother says cherry is sweet and kind. If you ruin her, I'll come to your home, drag you out by your ear, take a hard branch off your crooked ancestor tree, and beat you blind. And when I'm dead, I'll haunt you, curse you, throw magic spells, turn you into a hapless, gold-natless monkey, just for thrills. Onion, not a fruit. They chopped off your head during the revolution. Although you have a French passport, I can tell you are a faker from your bad accent. How dare you think that you could float to the top in the soup of history? Peach for Paul Gauguin. This is the 12-year-old lover talking back to Paul Gauguin. Is a vengeful peach. Peach. I shaved off all my fuzz, even around my navel, because you are a sick fool and like shaved girls. You take a first bite, expecting to get juicy, but instead you get a mouthful of needles from a shaman in Tahiti. Eggplant. Your mother's eggplant kept on the vine too long, black now, cracked and overripe. Should I throw her out? Please don't. Let's make use of her, for the autumn equinox will dry the belly in the sun and replant the seeds. Bowl. I'm a Cherimoya migrant, not a crazy rich Asian. Don't put us all in the same bowl in a tropical jamba juice swirl. Thank you. Happy New Year. Happy Year of the Dragon.
Is this on? Yes. Everybody, let's please give one more big round of applause for all of our poets and the amazing readings. We have a few minutes left for a conversation, so my first question, I like this question because I think we have a lot to learn from each other as well. Plus it's a cop-out because I don't have to think of creative questions. What questions do you have for each other?
Can I start? Well, I have a question for all three of the readers. It's a sort of a general question for everyone. Something that I'm really curious about is that when you first started out as a writer, what did you encounter that you felt to be the most challenging, whether it was something that you had to grapple with within yourself or something larger, for example, in the publishing world, or just where that maybe met up somewhere in the middle? What did you find to be your largest struggle?
The largest struggle. Oh my God. I mean, in some ways it was grad school, to be perfectly honest. Just, yeah, I think being in predominantly white spaces where literary meant certain things. And I felt very afraid, I think, to embrace my own voice or perspective on the page. And that really included humor, which has since become such an important device and resource for me, personally and in terms of the craft. So it took a while to kind of shed the assumption that I had to sound a certain way to be like a serious poet, and that there's so many ways into your own seriousness, which is really like, what do you pay most attention to? What are you most engaged with? And how do you keep deepening that? And for me, a lot of that does happen through humor or playfulness. Although I'll also say that I think I often come to the page as quite a curmudgeon. And so it's like I'm a very cranky person, actually. So the joy or the play is always what I'm trying to move toward. But yeah, I would say that was one of the big challenges, was to listen to that voice instead.
Catching me a little off guard. So I'll just say, it's a great question. I would say very early on finding writers of color to read beyond Langston Hughes. So I'm talking about high school, 20s and on.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Very early on, You know, I needed to tune out other people's opinions. And so, you know, we've lived so long that there are different streams and, you know, different, I don't know, yeah, there's just stuff going on, and yeah, there are trends. Sometimes a certain, you know, a style is trendy. Recently, there are a lot of project books. I remember used to start research books a long time ago, but now there tends to be lots of project books, and so so I try to tune out what's going on and really think about my own virtues and my own, you know, my own strengths, and because I started out as a translator and also as a formalist, the strengths are from form and style, and then I always have the foundation, you know, yeah, in my voice. So yeah, basically by this point we're just competing with ourselves, right? Yeah, that's it, right. It's a quest for excellence, right? That's, yeah, basically that's what it is. Yeah.
Tina, what about you?
I have to answer my own question. Okay. I think in the beginning, I was struggling a lot with my own sense of visibility. I think that I had probably spent a good deal of my life feeling quite invisible, that at the moment that I met up with Curtis Chin, who was one of the founders of the Asian American Writers Workshop, when I walked into his office, which was then on Elizabeth Street, before they moved to St. Mark's Place, I felt like that was the first time that I felt very seen. And it gave me a lot of permission entering into the St. Mark's space when we moved there and encountering the work of Kimiko, encountering the work of Marilyn Chin, encountering the work of Liang Li and Garrett Hongo and all the people who came before me. It gave me a lot of strength and a huge push forward to feel that my visibility was worthy of something, and that my voice had a chance and an opportunity to live. Because going back to something that Chen said, when I was an undergraduate student, I was never shown a poet or a writer with an Asian American face or identity. So I didn't even know what I was looking for. So the Asian American Writers Workshop met me at my struggle to help me move forward.
Anyone else or other questions? I've got more, so no worries. What drew each of you to poetry? Or, you know, kind of put differently, why do you write poems?
I'll just say quickly, I started out writing fiction, and then like the stories got shorter and shorter and shorter, so that was part of it. But also, I realized, I mean, I was always interested in stories and telling stories, and that was actually a very social activity for me when I was growing up. I would write a story or write a chapter or something and immediately share it with friends. But then I started to turn to poetry more and more in high school, I think like many an angsty teenager. But I really kept a lot of that for myself. I didn't show anybody. And so looking back on it, I realized that the turn to poetry involved trying to talk to myself, actually, and process a lot of what I was experiencing that I didn't have the language for, really. So a lot of that had to do with my sexuality, my sense of racial identity, how those seemed at odds with one another all the time. And yeah, I didn't know how to kind of put that in words for anyone else. So I had to first do that for myself, and it happened in poems.
Does anyone else want to share?
Well, when I was very little, and I grew up in a family of artists, I knew, and I grew up speaking English, but I knew from my parents speaking other languages that there was more than one way to say something. And that became an incredible delight. It felt very magical that, that a book had 2 words, at least 2 words, right? And also then later on, because my family members, including my sister, are visual artists, I wanted to find something that was my own, as my dad's very critical. So that became increasingly poetry, so from a very young age.
My mother really wanted me to be a nurse, and she had that sort of set in her mind that that's what I was going to be doing with my life. And then the way that things went, I think it was always my educators and my teachers that were always letting me know, giving me a little bit of a hint of who I should be, even before I knew who I should be. And along the way, that they were guiding me slowly away from this sort of, at least the Asian American sort of stereotypical idea that, at least from my parents' perspective, that I should be a doctor or a lawyer, that there seemed to be like very few paths that I should take, which when you think about it is pretty limiting. And then as time went on, I felt art calling to me. And I remember saying to my mother actually, Mom, I'm very afraid because I actually think that I love poetry. And she said, what will you do with yourself? I said, I don't know. And I think that thinking about those who came before me, I think it gave me an opportunity, a bravery to say, well, if somebody else could do that, if they found a shape and a form to their life in being a poet, then maybe there's something in that for me. Maybe eventually there's some sort of potential in that for me.
We're at 3 o'clock, so I'll wrap up with this one question, and we can just go maybe down the line. What or who are you reading that inspires you or is moving you or that you just want to recommend to everybody today?
Sure. I'll just say I've been making my way very slowly through Solmaz Sharif's second book, Customs, which I think is pretty incredible. And I keep coming back to these 2 lines at the end of a poem that's called He Too, in which the speaker is like coming through an airport and having to kind of deal with the immigration officer. And this is sort of between immigration bans as well. And the last 2 lines are, I'm let in until. And just the way that the poem ends, and there's no punctuation after until, right? It's sort of left as this open kind of question. But I'm really struck by, just that ending and thinking about the limitations of the so-called hospitality of a nation state. Yeah.
Like a lot of people, a lot of writers, I'm reading a lot of things at one time. But one of the things that I've been really affected by is Sophia Sinclair's How to Say Babylon. I don't know if anybody's read it in the audience. It's an incredible book. I like this, it gives me hope, this feeling that someone could be entrenched in the poetry world and then write this incredible memoir, which is really about the relationship between a daughter and her father and the fight for freedom. The father is very deeply entrenched in the Rastafarian life, and she feels very much under the thumb of this very, very strict lifestyle, and then searches and then eventually wins her freedom. So it's an incredible book. If anybody's read it, it's really wonderful.
At Queens College, in our MFA program, increasingly I teach using chapbooks, partly because I love chapbooks and also because I think it's the first place many emerging writers are going to find themselves. Typically I'll use chapbooks from Ugly Duckling Press, Belladonna, Saraband, and on. I have two former students here, Rajiv Mohabir and Ashley Samwaru, and they both have chapbooks. And of course, Rajiv has many books out as well. And Queens College deadline for application is March 1st.
I'm rereading Neruda. I made Hannah read Neruda and with a dictionary. So I'm also reading Gloria Anzaldúa. Please remember her. I mean, that generation, they didn't receive huge awards, and they were the true revolutionaries. So I'm rereading Gloria Anzaldúa. Yes.
Thank you all so much for this amazing reading, conversation. Thank you all for being here. As I mentioned, a few of them will be out for signings. Let's just give them a few minutes to get there. Thank you all.